Yep. We're live. I need to.
Can you?
I didn't know you were going to say that. What do you need me to? I can't stop it. Hurry. All right, I'm playing the intro.
Good.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one! Another one!
Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. We're almost through with the week. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com along for the ride as always. John, the producer at the wheels. Looking forward to another fun one. Indiana plays tonight on the basketball on the hardwood. Bethune-Cookman. They were on the soccer field yesterday and knocking off number 5 Maryland to reach the Big Ten championship for soccer again. They're going for their 4th consecutive title.
Wow.
4th consecutive tournament title, which is big time. So congratulations to them as they're going through. Plenty to get to, of course. Matt Taylor should be along. Chris Denari, Kyler Staley. Preview the Indiana basketball game. Get to some other things like, how about Louisville? You know, we talked about this yesterday, and not a shock. Louisville not exactly, where they need to be, and Bellarmine a hungry team on the rise that is well coached and that is built on just hardworking mid-level guys. Some guys from Indiana. Scotty Davenport did the same thing when they were a D2 team, and he was taking them to the national championship every year, and they won one of those. So congratulations. But yeah, big win for Bellarmine, man. That's how you start. Now, see, last year they got screwed out of the tournament.
Yeah.
You talk about a resume builder. Hello. Stick that sucker right up on there. Plus, that game probably happened in the Center, I'm going to imagine, not Freedom Hall. But either way, it doesn't really matter. Big win for them. Conference USA, speaking of former Louisville Conference, but Conference USA signs a new deal with CBS and ESPN. You'll see more games on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We don't have enough games, so we'll have them on Tuesdays and Wednesdays now.
Yeah, excellent.
So there's that. We're going to talk. I saw you guys were talking about the pork tenderloin. I'm going to jump in on that conversation.
Okay, yeah.
I saw that picture, which was funny. Everybody hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline often and early already. 5 lefts. Thank you. Appreciate you. Mike is on. Philip. Mike, the music man. Forrest up and at it early in South Georgia. Sean says, need a business math major here. How many beers do fans need to drink at the Rock against Purdue to raise enough money for the buyout? Buddy, they don't make enough beer in a year to get close to that.
Yeah, there would be a lot of emergency medical personnel on hand for that game.
That's
if
20.
That was the case.
They couldn't fill that stadium and drink enough beer to make $20 million. Wyatt was in Louisville last night to watch his friend Kurt Hopp and the Bellarmine Knights take down Louisville. Well, we'll hear some comments from Wyatt then. Very, very cool. Kurt Hopp, one of those names that you heard on the recruiting cycle last year. I mean, he was looked at by the Indiana schools. He ends up at Bellarmine, and congratulations. Robert says, Dustin, you asked, got that exact hat. There you go.
He loves it. It's a great hat.
Is it a camo hat?
Yep,
Yeah.
it's camo.
There you go. Ross says, morning. Pacers almost got screwed around. Almost screwed around and won last night. Yeah, we can't have that. Cannot have that now. You can look good losing, but you don't need to win. Wembayama. That's all you got to say.
Here's what would happen. If the Pacers ended up with the worst record in the NBA, they still wouldn't end up getting the first pick. So I'm a proponent of win as many games as you can, because I don't think the Pacers have the luck where they're going to get the number 1 overall pick, unfortunately.
And then a kid from Providence played for Bellarmine last night. So Providence assistant coaches, Lance Stemler, former IU basketball player. So lots of combos there, baby. Making them up. Looking forward to that. Oh, it's gee whiz. There's still lots more comments. You guys are up and at it. Appreciate you. Pete says hello. Talk about IU men's soccer. Yep. It's hard to say that Indiana beating someone is an upset, but Maryland was ranked number 5 in the country. So there's that. Janice, along with us for the ride as well. How are you doing? Appreciate you. Larry. Wright State and Davidson was a great game last night. Well, you've heard of Fletcher Lawyer.
Yep.
His brother plays and starts for Davidson.
Foster Lawyer, right? That's his. I think that's his name. Yeah.
So I happened to see Dane Fife last night. And you will not believe who he was with. Jeff Sagarin.
Wow.
Do you know who Jeff Sagarin? You should know.
The Sagarin ratings, yes.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
The original before there was Ken Palm, before there was anything. You had the Sagarin ratings.
He's got some influence there.
I remember that. I think since I was in high school.
Really? I didn't know they'd been around that long.
I'm pretty easy there.
My bad.
I'm serious, but I think that because of football, I would remember looking because you wanted to be in the Sagarin, although it had nothing to do with, there was no subjectivity.
Right.
You're like, you want to be in those rankings, baby. I mean, he would do it for high school and everything, but he's from Bloomington, went to MIT.
He's from Bloomington.
Yes.
I did not know that.
He's a Bloomingtonian, man. Went to MIT. Just a super, super smart guy. He's a guy that, and this is a fact, he remembers every day. Every date.
Really?
You can give him a date. March, you can just do like, March 14th, 2000. Oh yeah. That was a Tuesday. And
eidetic memory.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
It's not, because last night I was like, hey Jeff, how are you? So yeah, we met once before at the Alley Bar in Bloomington. And then he immediately, oh yes, that was bam. And he goes into and it's not I think it may be a brain a tool. It's just they do it. They almost have to do it to keep that tool working, but it's just a freaky thing. It's Mary Lou Henner, the old actress from Taxi, can do that, but it's wild. I mean, seriously, you can give them a date and they'll instantly, well, you see, yeah, that was a Tuesday, and it's like they just can pull this stuff up. It's freaky.
I've seen some, I don't think they were documentaries, but I think I've seen some some shows where that's been like a featured topic, but I've never met anybody with an eidetic memory.
Janice listened to us down in Florida, I assume, since she's listening in the middle of the Hurricane Nicole. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that, by the way. All of our Florida peeps are enduring that. I guess I should pull that up because I know that's what today hitting back across. Daggone, man. Leave our Florida listeners alone.
No kidding. It's been a rough fall.
No, yeah, I got it.
Jeffrey the Greek texted me today, or maybe he said something to me on Twitter. Our friend of the show comes on Fridays, and he said, I think that Hurricanes have produced more touchdowns in Florida than Mario Cristobal this season.
Oh, but absolutely. This one's not as strong though, right? This one's
no, it's not as intimidating as the last one. It doesn't
need to be when it's coming on the heels of Ian.
Right.
With everyone's still trying to get back, up to where they were before. And man, this thing is kind of hitting that Central Florida area again, it looks like.
Yeah.
Thank goodness it's a little bit further north. It's not coming in where it did across the Fort Myers, Sarasota, Cape Coral area.
Right. Central Florida got hammered with Ian, and they're going to get hammered again with this one. So with Nicole. So it's good that it didn't hit the coast, but the people in Central Florida have dealt with quite a bit in the last 2 months.
But it looks like that it's just more of a tropical storm, really. I mean, the winds I'm looking at are in the 30 miles an hour range, so it may have calmed down.
Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully. But thank you, Janice. She's still listening during the hurricane. And so we appreciate you all the more, but wish you luck and hope that no storm surge, no mess. It's going around you, it looks like, around the Gainesville area.
It's supposed to, it's here.
It's it's weird how these things, how they track.
I know how they changed at a moment's notice.
Yeah, it's just odd how they track. But think about all of our Florida listeners. Obviously, Florida, one of our largest states for listeners. Definitely in the top 10. So thinking about you guys. Speaking of which, Big Dave from windy, rainy Jacksonville. Yeah, you're gonna be okay. You'll be able to make it out to Whataburger today, Dave, and not have a problem. I'm still wanting my Whataburger, man.
There's going to be a Whataburger a little bit closer to you now. In my
don't get
Kennesaw, Georgia. You want to drive 6 hours? You can get a Whataburger. That's a day drive, Jim.
Now wait a minute. They're putting a Whataburger in Kennesaw?
Yes.
Well, how big is Kennesaw? Big as my thumb?
Yeah, it's probably like Carmel.
Is it like right outside of Atlanta?
Yeah, it's about 20 miles, something like that, and then probably 30 to 35-minute drive, depending on traffic.
That means it's coming to Atlanta, baby.
That's right. So it's creeping up there.
I know people hear me talk about Whataburger a lot. I love Whataburger.
Don't worry that it's been so long since you've had Whataburger, Jim, that you're going to be epically disappointed the next time that you get to have it.
No, it hasn't been that damn long. I was when Indiana went to. I went
on the Whataburger hat.
Well, I went to. This was from a vacation I went on back in 2016 with Kylie, my daughter, and I went to Whataburger like every day, so they gave me this hat, but she was sick of it. But
Jim wanted more.
But the last time I was down there when Indiana played in the Gator Bowl,
okay,
which was in Jacksonville. So I got me some then. But Whataburger was purchased. They were by the family that owned them, sold them about 2 years ago, I think it's been now, by some bigger company out of Chicago whose plan is to grow them. I haven't seen a lot of growth, which is probably smart, doing it slowly.
Right.
I know there's one or so outside of Nashville, but I worked for an ad agency once after I got out of television, a New York, Manhattan ad agency, and the account was on the Rally's hamburgers chain. And this was back when they had different owners, and they were growing a mile a minute, and it cost them. It drove them into bankruptcy because they were building stores left and right. So they're probably doing it right. But speed up the process, guys. I mean, get one to Indy or Louisville, something.
There you go.
Pete says Whataburger needs to sponsor the. You're damn right. He does. Speaking of, anyone interested in sponsoring the post-game show, let me know. Very inexpensive, I assure you that. And we'd sure like to have a new sponsor or two. Reach out to me. So other than that, we got to take a break. Our good friends at BB's Market, make sure you stop there. I had some great chicken from there last night. I love it. And looking forward to having more tomorrow when I stop by and do the show, as we'll be there. So make sure you stop in tomorrow while we're doing the show there, and I'll buy you a meal. BB's Market, of course, a part of the WOW Club and Endeavor Hospitality. Go to your Apple App Store, Google Play Store, join the WOW Club today. Start earning WOW rewards. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting, you're probably going to have to change the intro, Johnny Boy, to add Dustin to it.
To the main intro?
Yeah. He's here every day.
Mm-hmm.
Is Mate joining us?
Haven't heard
Plus,
otherwise. Usually if I don't hear from him, it's a good thing.
Oh, okay.
We were going to talk about what I was talking about for the intro. I was talking about just adding those clips, like real quickly.
What are you talking about?
Remember what the text that I'd sent about the opening?
I don't think I got it, but I'll look and see. Let me see. Like recently?
Yeah, you said we'll talk. Yeah, you said we'll talk about it. It's one I sent about adding.
I'm looking right now.
About adding like the Macho Man.
It was a text that I couldn't read because you did talk to text and half of the words don't make any sense. I should read this verbatim just so you know what I'm talking about.
Closed the Rallies in Franklin. Rallies, as I remember, had some of the best French fries. They used to. Down here in the South, it's Checkers.
Is it that much different with the taste?
No, the taste is. I think it's the exact same product. It's just called something different.
You guys like the
it's like
Hardee's.
Well, no, Jim will fight me on that because I was about to say White Castle and Crystal, but
they're way different. No, those.
You know what? I have never had Crystal. I'm not a huge fan of White Castle, so I've never had Crystal.
Yeah, Checkers and Rallies may be identical, but I promise you, Crystal is way different than White Castle. All right, no Matt Taylor yet, but that doesn't mean he won't show up. So who knows? Here we go.
Every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Thanks a lot for being along for the ride. We appreciate you guys. And always appreciate the great comments that you guys send whenever. A lot of people, most people can't always listen live, and we love that everyone gets to listen, period. Let's not forget, was Dave yesterday sent a message appreciating the show, says I'm a nighttime listener. People listen. That's the great thing. You get to listen whenever you want to, or when you can. Let's see. I know I keep saying that. Oh, Matt's here. Please welcome the new head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, Matt Taylor. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm all right. I just love messing with people, man. It's been a week. It's been a week for you. I'm sure you've had to go through it and deal with the surprises and the because like I said, I've compared Indiana to the Colts a lot this season, and while I don't expect a change to happen at Indiana, you're going through that ride of the things that are going on, and then you are doing the same thing with the Colts. And although, I was so surprised and disappointed to see Frank Reich go, because everybody really liked him. And that's a little usually undifferent. A lot of times you've always, when things are going well and the coach is always, it's easy not to like him. It wasn't the case for Frank Reich.
No doubt about it. Yeah. So from a personal standpoint with me, it's very difficult because, Frank I work close with Frank and, talk to him a couple times a week, for 4+ years during the season and off season as well. And, he treated me with, unbelievable amount of kindness and respect. And I enjoyed talking with him. I learned a lot about football. And I just admired how he, how he carried himself, sort of represented the organization by being the man that he was and that he is. And so from that standpoint, it was a very difficult day to see him, lose his job in the fashion that he did, having 8 games to go and not being able to kind of see it through and, get this thing corrected and put right on the right track, if you will. So, it's always difficult. I've been through 3 of these things now. I've been with the Colts since really 2011, so I've seen 3 coaching changes. It's tough on that standpoint, but listen, it's a bottom line deal. Nobody's immune to it. Everybody gets judged and evaluated every single day, every single year. And anytime you talk about an offense that's last in scoring, they're basically bottom tier and everything towards the bottom in every major offensive statistical category. 0 for 14 the other day on third down. You gave up 9 sacks. That was sort of the breaking point, and it was just a disappointing showing in New England, and now you're 3-5-1, and it's going to be tough to win the AFC South. These are things we've already talked about, but in the last 3 weeks, you've had a benching of a future Hall of Fame quarterback, firing of an offensive coordinator, firing of a head coach. Now you have nobody on the offensive coaching staff that has called plays in the NFL. And now you have an interim coach that has no experience coaching in the college ranks or in the NFL, a guy that's on television and, he's an all-time great. There's no doubt about that. Ring of Honor guy in Jeff Saturday, was part of that era of greatness, the all-time winningest era of football, decade of football, for any team from 2000 to 2009. They won 12 games seemingly every year in that span. But yeah, no, I mean, every single week, every single Monday's been just chaos, and that's sort of representative of where this team is right now.
I'm curious, Matt, because I've heard things kind of mentioned two different ways. Number one is obviously, the Colts decided to bring in a guy with, as you mentioned, no coaching experience, and you've got guys on that staff who have worked hard. Might be a little frustrated by the decision to bring in somebody who lacks experience. But on the other side, we talked with Bob Kravitz yesterday, and it's maybe the goal is to bring in somebody with a fresh set of eyes who can give you that 10,000 foot view of the Colts, kind of the unbiased look, and say here's what you need to do. Here's some adjustments you need to make. Here's what you need. All that kind of stuff. I'm just curious, have you gotten a sense for what the energy is around the franchise right now? I mean, I know this has all happened very quickly, but have you gotten a sense for the energy right now?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was his first day on the job with the players. Tuesday's an off day. Everything happened so fast on Monday. Tuesday's an off day. Yesterday they had walk through first practice, so he addressed the team for the first time in totality yesterday. And guys talked about that in the locker room yesterday during media availability, that Jeff definitely has presence and he's got energy and he's transparent, and he's going to keep it real. I mean, he knows what it's like to be in their shoes because he's literally been in that locker room before for 13 years, with the Colts. So, from that standpoint, he's going to keep it real, and I think he is going to bring a good energy about things, and also maybe add some, like you said, some fresh eyes, some fresh energy around the club. But, as guys also said on the other side of it, is, you got to build up trust and you got to build up loyalty, and that takes time. That is established in full over the course of time. And I mean, listen, this is hair on fire right now. This is Jeff Saturday drinking out of a fire hydrant, and it's everything's come at him so fast, and he's got to put a game plan together. He announced that Parks Frazier, who is the assistant quarterbacks coach, he's going to call plays now. He's a bright kid. He's 30 years old, but he's never called plays before. So he's going to get that first opportunity. So, I just think of it from Sam Ellinger's perspective, right? I mean, this is going to be his third start of his career coming up on Sunday, and he's going to essentially have 3 different offensive coordinators in 3 games, in 3 starts. I mean, that's just unheard of. That's got to be unprecedented. I don't know what the research is on that, but I've never heard of that before. So it's just all of that just sort of adding up to a lot of newness, fresh eyes, fresh energy. And I think the $1 million question is, how is this team going to respond to this on game day? Because it's all about how you play on that given day, because the preparation can be good or bad, but it's how you translate things on Sunday, and we'll see how this team responds to Jeff Saturday as their coach on the sidelines.
Well, also just to see how they, it's their season. This is, so different than the college game or anything else. These guys are men. This is truly their team. And it's going to be interesting to see, do they, I don't want to say give up, or keep fighting to win. You can tell when you're fighting to win. A lot of people have mentioned the tank, just like the Pacers, and go out and just say, you know what, this is going to be a 4-12 season or whatever, and go out and get one of those great young quarterbacks. We'll see how it all ends at the end of the season, but it's going to be interesting to see what the optics look like, at least going along.
Well, I think the most interesting thing about this is that there's still 8 games to go. It's not as if like there's 4 games or 3 games and it's week 14 or 15 and you already know, like, hey, you've been eliminated from playoff contention, or it's a long shot to make the playoffs. No, I mean, this team mathematically and hypothetically still has everything in front of it. They still can make a push, right? There's still half of the season essentially to play, so they can still get back into it if they respond the right way and accept Jeff Saturday for who he is and what he represents in terms of their failures in the first part of the season. So from that standpoint, it's fascinating because it's not as if like there's 1 or 2 games left and they're just going to, they're going to go out there, they're going to play hard, but, likely not have a chance to win. No, like they're still trying to hit the reset button with 8 games to go, trying to do something here. And I know people might laugh at that, and that's fine. But that's the reality of this, is that guys are still playing for contracts, and there's a bunch of free agents that are going to be up next spring. And, is Jeff Saturday going to be the coach next year? If he is, they might want to make a good impression here for the last 2 months of the season. So all of that's in play. I think right now it's just all bigger picture, guys. I think the biggest word you can use is professionalism. We're going to see how much professionalism this team has right now with kind of putting on the blinders and balancing, feeling for Frank Reich, accepting the responsibility that they played in his firing and dismissal after 9 games, and then also accepting Jeff Saturday as their coach right now and going out there and trying to, just be a pro and get ready day by day for 8 more games.
I don't know if this is I don't know if this question is going to come off correctly. I don't know. Like it feels like I'm not quite buying into the notion, and Jim Irsay denounced this notion too of the tank, because I feel like this was I don't know a better word to say, desperate move. Like it seems to me like Jim Irsay is still trying to salvage something out of this season, despite how ugly it's looked at times. But one of the questions I have, Matt, is because the offensive line has played so poorly, and you thought coming into this season it was going to be maybe one of the strengths of this team, is that a reason why Jim Irsay targeted Jeff Saturday? Like, if there's a guy who can help fix the offensive line, because to me that's clearly been the biggest issue, if there's somebody who can fix it, who's close to the franchise, who will take that kind of personally, is he the guy to do it? Like that to me is just another reason why I'm not quite sold on the idea of a tank, because I feel like if you were quote unquote tanking, you would have just left everything in place and said, we're probably going to win 5 or 6 games. This felt like a move where I want to try to salvage something of the season. I think Jeff can come in and at least help this offensive line get better, and maybe we'll have a shot at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. There's no doubt. You're talking about a guy that, again, he was here for 13 years and was part of I think the stat is Jeff Saturday's offensive line that he was a part of in 7 seasons when he was with the Colts allowed the fewest sacks in the NFL. So out of 13 years, he was part of 7 different offensive lines that allowed the fewest sacks in the NFL. Now, obviously, Peyton Manning's your quarterback, and he's getting rid of the ball fast and all of that. But still, he knows what good offensive line play is and what it should look like. And let's be real. I mean, if you were in an elevator in Las Vegas, which ironically I'll be in this weekend, if you were in an elevator with somebody and they said, "Oh, you're the play-by-play guy for the Colts, sum up their season while I go up to the 7th floor," I would use 3 words. I would say turnovers and offensive line play. Well, that's 4 words. So turnovers and offensive line. But you get what I'm saying. Like, I think if the Colts could protect, if the Colts had consistency up front, I think Frank Reich's still here. And I think they probably win 2 or 3 more games. Turnovers have killed them. Sacks allowed have killed them. Pressures have killed drives and knocked them out of field goal range and just come up at really bad times. So I think the root of most of this team's problems, at least on offense, especially on offense, has been the offensive line. And so, I do think it's I don't know what to what degree, Dustin, but I'm sure that's part of it, why he's here, because he's had so much success. And, again, he can kind of put his, a new spin or a new, kind of put his thumbprint on the offensive line and help Chris Strausser find some solutions to all these free pressures or free blitzers and, stunts and line issues that the Colts offensive line has gone through this season. So I think that's definitely part of it. But I think the biggest thing is leadership, charisma, personality, leader of men. But there's no question that his offensive line acumen is probably part of this.
Well, and Jim makes a comparison to Indiana because Indiana's offensive line has not been good either. But to me, this is a little bit different in the fact that these are all professionals. They've been in the league for a couple of years.
The highest paid offensive line in the game.
Right. And so I feel like just a different voice and making some tweaks schematically or something along those lines. Like you don't need, like Indiana University needs a full offseason to improve. The Colts, I feel like you can have somebody come in.
Yeah, IU needs better players. I mean, the Colts have invested Braden Smith, extension, Ryan Kelly, extension, Quentin Nelson, highest paid offensive lineman in the game. If you need better players.
That's what's driving Jim Irsay so mad. It's not like he's sitting with on his hands, not providing the players to perform the way that he wants to see them perform. Right. So that's why, if people want to know why he made the move that he made, as hard as this, I guarantee you that was as hard on him as probably any coach that he's had to fire, maybe. But at the same time, he's saying, hey, I want performance. I provided the players. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, no. So to be fair, though, I mean, right guard has been an issue. Left tackle has been an issue. I mean, the Colts have used a handful of players at each spot this season, so those have been an issue. I mean, quarterback play. I mean, quarterbacks. I mean, they don't bear all of the responsibility up front with the pressures, but they got to get out of bad plays. They have to know where to go with the football. They need to get rid of the football quicker. And you've had two different quarterbacks this season, and you've had, Matt Ryan started this season, and I know he had a full off season and he had a full training camp, which is miles ahead of where they've been the last couple of years with their rotating cast of quarterbacks, but he's still in a new situation on a new team for the first time. So I think just the growing pains there, just all of it, inconsistency at those two positions, those three mainstays that we talked about, Kelly, Nelson, Smith, underperforming. It's just been, I don't know. It's just been one of those seasons.
I want to see him trade for Lamar Jackson, baby. There is nobody I enjoy watching more. Now, he is not perfect, but man, is he fun to watch.
Good guy too, right?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's a good guy too.
Absolutely. But he's like a kid still that's playing sandlot football, but he is a blast to watch. Not only can he run the ball, but it's watching him make his decisions now of throwing and running, and he can throw that pill, man. He can spin that dial.
There you go. Baltimore Ravens must-watch TV there for Jim. I like it.
Well, they were on the other night, and I just enjoyed watching him. Yeah, I remember I was covering him when I was living down south and when he was at Louisville. But I remember before he got to Louisville, his high school coach, and I know a lot of coaches are always high on their players, but his high school coach said, this guy is going to win the Heisman. And that was before he even got to Louisville. So he's been special his entire life. But he's just fun. Usually those quarterbacks don't last, don't work out. Man, he is sure making it work. He's just different. I can't even describe it, Matt, because he's like when he runs, he's like a snake. I've never seen him take a direct hit ever. College or pro, I've never seen him take a direct hit. I've seen him make a lot of mistakes, drop the ball, make some mistakes, whatever, but I've never seen him take a direct hit.
Well, that's the way things are going now. I mean, mobile quarterbacks. I think, you look at all the quarterbacks in college football now, especially the guys that are projected as of now to go high in the upcoming draft in April. I think it's sort of a mandate now that you have to have some mobility and you have to have some athleticism. I think that part of the game is trickling up, if you will, from college football to the NFL. All of these franchises now are looking for escapability, mobility, and the ability to extend plays, because offensive linemen, it's like bullpen, man, in baseball. Everybody needs it, and there's just not enough of it. And, depth is always tested along the offensive line. And I think that defensive linemen now, especially interior defensive linemen, compared to 15, 20 years ago, are freaks. They're much quicker. They're much more athletic. I mean, look at Aaron Donald, look at DeForest Buckner, look at Chris Jones for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, these are guys that, I mean, they don't look like defensive tackles because they're hybrid guys that can go inside, they can go outside. You know, they're running like 4.8 40s in the combine.
They could probably play tight end if you needed them to.
No question. So that's why it's so imperative to move the pocket, get quarterbacks out, and also be able to extend plays. And I think that's absolutely prerequisites nowadays. And these pocket passers, you know, these statues back there, they're becoming antiques, and that's the way the game's going.
Have you watched any of the Manning cast?
No, I don't. I'm really bad about. I honestly, like, I don't watch a whole lot of football.
I get that. I was just curious if maybe you'd watch that particular one.
No, I mean, sometimes I'll have Monday Night Football going in the background, but usually I'm up working until about 11 o'clock every night, honed in on Colts work. So it's sort of, I mean, I very much get lost into a tunnel.
Right, I get it.
Football. So it's
that
tough.
one, I see that one would be good to have in the background. It'll give you a chuckle.
Yeah.
It will.
Yep.
I do have one last question. Serious question. How did the Colts, the Rooney Rule? How did Jeff Saturday hire? Is it because it's interim? How do the Rooney Rule how was the Rooney Rule met? And for folks who don't understand, the Rooney Rule is guarantees that when there's a head coaching position open, that everyone gets to an opportunity, minorities, and all of that. How did this meet that?
Yeah, like
standard?
you said, the interim position does not apply. So
okay,
the Colts are definitely going to have to abide by that at the end of the season. So they're going to have to reopen their head coaching position at the end of the year and go through that full hiring process with multiple candidates. And the Rooney Rule is in place to make sure that teams obviously are interviewing minority candidates. I think the Rooney Rule mandates that teams have to interview at least 2 external minority candidates for head coaching jobs. But again, that does not apply for interim coaches. So we'll see. I mean, I read a stat the other day that only 2 of the 17 interim head coaches in the last 10 years went on to become full-time head coaches with that team. So I think it was Mike Mularkey back in 2015 with the Titans.
and that was a bunch of malarkey.
Well, and Doug Marrone with Jacksonville in 2016. So, definitely going to be an interesting ride. 8 games to go, and then I think we hit the reset button in January when the head coaching search will continue to look for a permanent answer for 2023.
Well, brother, I hope you have a great day and a great rest of your weekend and a great call.
I appreciate you guys. Yeah, no, I mean, listen, let's have some more energy next week. I know this is on me. This is on me. It's early. I'm not a morning guy. We're talking about people losing their jobs. Right. So next week we're going to be more positive. I'm going to bring more energy next week. I promise you.
Oh, it's all great. It's very informative. I think it's been very informative. I've enjoyed it. We've got a lot of college football coming down to next week. We'll talk about the college football playoff, the Final Four. This is a year you really wish they had that 12-man playoff or 12-team playoff, because I truly believe this is a year where, man, I don't know that a team that's 6th or 7th couldn't make that run. I've not seen a team.
Yeah. There is no Alabama.
Georgia.
There is no Clemson. You're right. I mean, Georgia's pretty good. There's no question about that, but I don't think they're unbeatable. So I mean, I was sort of in the camp the last couple of years saying, well, what do you need to expand the playoff for anyways? Because it's just going to prolong the inevitable. But I think this year there's a lot of teams in the top 10. I think, number 9 could knock off a number 2, right? So, I mean, I think that might be, the case to maybe expand it if the NIL, and you guys know more about this than I do. So if you think the NIL has helped level the playing field and people are catching up to Alabama, I'm all for it, because college football to me was sort of a foregone conclusion. It was sort of like women's basketball with UConn back in the day. I think teams have gotten better NIL has pushed Alabama down closer to the pack. Those two things combined have made for more interesting Saturday afternoons for everybody.
You just hit the nail on the head, brother. The NIL has definitely leveled the playing field, and it's going to continue to do that. You look at even in the SEC. Look at Tennessee has been down for how long? Ever. Yep. And now all of a sudden, boom, they're back. So it is definitely going to level the playing field.
The problem is Tennessee and IU played in a bowl game 3 years ago, and Tennessee's playing for SEC championships, and IU's playing for their second win in the Big Ten. So what the hell happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Great question. We're trying to figure that out. We haven't come to a conclusion yet.
Oh, no, I can tell you what happened. It's quick and easy.
That's for the remainder of
Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer in Washington right now. That's part of the problem. Yeah. And he's doing quite well out there with Michael Penix Jr., no less, who is leading the nation in passing yardage.
Yep. No, that's fodder for the rest of your show.
Well, absolutely. Buddy, I hope you have a great rest of your week. I appreciate you so much.
All right, gentlemen. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir. Matt Taylor, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts, taking time to join us here as he does each week. We appreciate him so much. Yeah, I think without question, it's a tank for the Colts. Jeff Saturday is not going to be the coach next year. And that number just confirms that to me, that 2 of 17. This is almost a way to ensure the tank to me, I think. How in the hell can you expect a guy who, if you brought in Peyton Manning, maybe.
No. It's the same thing.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah, Hold on. I'll explain why. Someone asked me something yesterday, and I said, well, here's the thing. Peyton Manning knows what it takes to put a game plan together. Peyton Manning knows about attacking defenses. He knows about defenses because he has studied them so much. So he has the ability to put a game plan together. He'll also know to put not that Saturday doesn't, to put the right people around him. But from a play calling standpoint and all of that, I watched the Manning cast each week, and I see Peyton Manning basically sitting up there coaching the whole time. Now he'll talk about what you got coming up. Now, they're in this here. I'd like to see a run here. He's sitting there calling out what he'd like to see done. His mind is always working that way, and he's reading the defenses the whole time. I absolutely think that he could come in. I'm not saying he would be great, but if he were brought in, I would say that was a definite attempt to finish the season strong. But with Jeff Saturday, I think this is just an absolute great way of applying the tank and it looking better. Jeff Saturday has no experience whatsoever of putting a game plan together, of studying the defenses the way he's going to have to. A quarterback doing it and a center doing it, way two different things. Their viewpoints are way different.
Yeah, but Jeff Saturday had to be in those same. He was in those same rooms with Peyton Manning. And here's the thing. Here's he was. He was in there.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't studying the film that Peyton Manning studied. I promise you. Bull crap. Peyton Manning is just known for. That's just all he did, and he's not doing it with his center. The center's with the lineman.
Well, Peyton Manning also has a great personality, so he's landed the Manning cast. So you get to see his knowledge most weeks during the NFL season. But there's no Jeff Saturday cast, so we don't know I don't know what he knows. I mean, I'm
not saying that he's not a wise guy and doesn't know football. I'm just saying. There's no way it could be a close comparison to someone like a Peyton Manning. Just because he was a quarterback, number one. Quarterback is the quarterback. They have to know everything. Everything. They have to know every play, what every guy's doing, what every guy's supposed to be doing, what every defender is supposed to be doing. They have to keep up with so many different things. And that ability to me lends itself to coaching way more than a guy who is a center, and his responsibilities are much, much more limited. I'm not saying Jeff Saturday doesn't know football. I'm just saying there is a vast difference between a Jeff Saturday and a Peyton Manning. That's all.
The only reason I'm not solely convinced, I don't know whether it's a tank or it's not, but here's the thing. It's just like Matt said, why they did it with 8 games left. This team was not going to win 8. They were not going to win many more games. They might not have won 2 more games with the
I agree.
staff in place. So why would they make the change? So I'm not saying – I just think it was a desperate move by Jim Irsay to try to field some sort of success. I don't know. I don't know Jeff Saturday. I don't know. I mean, he's been around the franchise. He knows how to lead. There's been numerous videos, of some of the things he's talked about in the past. I don't know. It's gonna be incredibly interesting. But I do think part of what you're saying is correct in that I do believe the reason it was Jeff Saturday and not somebody else was kind of a PR move in the fact that he's a likable guy. It's somebody that you can support. It's just like the comparison I made the other day. If the Pacers were 5-45 and brought in Reggie Miller, people are going to show up because they want to root for Reggie Miller. This is kind of the same thing. So even if it doesn't work out, people are still going to offer Jeff Saturday support because he's Jeff Saturday and because he's a Colts legend.
I think this was mostly for the fans.
Right.
Because Jim Irsay knows exactly what you just said. They might win 2 more games, might have won 2 more games. And the rumblings were already there. A few people not showing up is already there. So a move had to be made to bring just some kind of excitement, whatever that is. And if Jeff Saturday on the sidelines brings some excitement, whatever. But I think that ultimately this is a very, very intelligent move by Jim Irsay. I think it was extremely intelligent, to be honest with you, because you put a guy in place that really can't be blamed.
All right, that's true.
He's what are you going to do? What are you going to say if the Colts don't have a great rest of the year? You going to blame Jeff Saturday? No, because they already stunk.
Well, they know who they're
you're not
going to
blame this guy, and therefore, the next coach that comes in definitely is not going to be blamed. It's going to be a fresh cut. It's not going to be Jeff Saturday, and they're going to have a high draft pick.
Yep, they will,
and possibly get the quarterback of the future. So
that's what they have to do. Yep,
they started the season off attempting to make it good, attempting to make a good run at it. Quickly saw it was not going to happen, and I've got to give Jim Irsay credit here. Bam! What a smart move. Smart move. Get the quarterback that you need to get. They've been screwed ever since Andrew Luck.
Yep.
Just first of all, that's BS to do that to your team. Then, if you're going to do that, do it after the fact. We got to take a break. We got plenty more to get to, but some Indiana basketball is tonight. The Hoosiers will take on Bethune-Cookman. They're getting a lot of games in right now. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com is going to join us next and give us a preview. Brought to you by our good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry down in Sellersburg. If you're down that way, stop in and see our good friend Dr. J to keep that championship smile. We're back with Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's
What's up, guys?
Howdy,
Kyler Staley.
Fix my camera real quick.
Oh, yeah. Make sure that thing's cleaned off so we can see that beautiful face.
Nice and shaved, too. I had a beard last game. But,
I didn't know.
Do a soul patch.
Yeah. I think all 3 of you should do a soul patch.
No.
All four of you.
There we go.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
Keegan.
I'm not sure that. Yeah, I'm not sure that Kevin can grow one. or Mason rather. I don't
you
think
will
Mason
never
could
see
throw
me
one.
with that. I've
done it before at home, just playing, and I'm like, I just can't. It looks like when you do that, it looks like you've always got a dip in your mouth, a chew. Looks like you're always chew. If I did that, it looks like I'm chewing. It's like it makes my bulge up.
It reminds me too much of the early 2000s.
Well,
2000s. It's more like the 60s, man.
The soul patch. Maybe it made a comeback in the early 2000s then, because that's what I think of whenever I see it.
No, it's not about money. It ain't about money. There we go. Well, they'll be in position to draft someone.
I like your guys' debate over Jeff Saturday and Peyton Manning. That was good.
Hey, baby.
It was
You
heated.
got to keep.
Whose side are you on, Kyler? Take a side.
No, so I see it from both ends. I see, Dustin, you are correct.
You freaking fence walker.
No. Hey, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I see it on both sides. I see, yes, it would be the same. It'd be the same if Reggie Wayne was, the head coach or whatever promoted. But I also see where, Peyton does kind of have a little bit more experience in that area of being he could be a head coach. So, but we just don't know Jeff.
I'm just telling you that
they
would have a better chance of winning if Peyton Manning was the head coach rather than say Jeff Saturday. There's no question. I would take that bet.
Have you seen this Colts team though? Have you seen this Colts team?
I didn't say that. I said a better chance. I didn't guarantee anything. I just said better chance.
What is the one thing the Colts need to get better at?
Offensive line.
And where did Jeff Saturday play?
Right in the middle.
Exactly. Peyton Manning's not going to be able to coach up that offensive line.
He's not coaching the offensive line.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Remax Realty in the Indianapolis. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. It could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. She's a great IU fan and a great supporter of Indiana Sports Beat, and we appreciate her very much. So, look her up if you're looking for a home in Indianapolis. Joined now by Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. He agrees with me that Peyton Manning would be a better coach for the Colts.
That's what I
said. If between the two, there's no question. I think that he would give the Colts a better chance to win. Was all I was saying. But we'll continue that debate.
Here's just one quick question, because I legitimately don't know the answer off the top of my head.
I'll give it to you real fast.
How many former NFL quarterbacks are coaches, head coaches?
Right now?
Yeah. I legitimately don't know the answer to this. This isn't a gotcha
I would bet
thing.
I would bet 0 or
Frank
1.
Reich was one.
Well, see? That quickly takes care of that, and a pretty decent one. But yes, I'm just saying they would have a better chance. That's why it was a super smart decision. Well, not that he would do it. He's not going to do that. He's too valuable, and he's too valuable on the Manning cast. That's a comedy show. I mean, that's a comedy show, man. I mean, I cannot wait to watch. I'm pissed that the Manning cast is not on every Monday. I don't even watch Monday Night Football when the Mannings aren't on.
I rarely do too. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. But we'll talk about that more later. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com with us. The Hoosiers 1-0 on the basketball season after knocking off Morehead State the other night. 88-53, I believe, was the final score. Something along those lines. A game that Hoosiers started out strong. Morehead State hit some threes, kept it interesting. Indiana wasn't even really attempting threes because they didn't have to, because they were shooting 60% from the field and just overmanned Morehead State. Tonight, they take on Bethune-Cookman, a team that kind of got obliterated by an Iowa team the other night, but Iowa's different. They like to get out and run, score a lot of points. What are you expecting tonight, Kyler?
Well, when I look at Bethune-Cookman, did a little research on them. I think they're kind of a worse off team than Morehead State was. So, obviously another easier game for Indiana, I would say. The main things that Indiana's got to work on, we got to see if their free throw shooting gets better. That's one of the main things. And then one thing that really surprised me last game was their rebounding was pretty close with Morehead State. I think at the end of the buzzer, or the final buzzer, it was like 33-28 in favor of Indiana as far as rebounding. Indiana should never be that close, especially when you're going up against a team like Morehead State or Bethune-Cookman. That front court's too loaded.
I will say, though, part of this is because Indiana shot such a high percentage as well, though. They didn't have as many opportunities for offensive rebounds.
Right, yeah. So that's one thing I'm kind of looking for. And I think Indiana's going to come out and play in a faster pace this time. The starting group, I feel like there was times at Morehead State where they were a little lackadaisical at times. Kind of going through the motions, but that second unit is so strong and it provides such a spark. All 4 of the guys that come in and make up that 9-man rotation that we saw, they bring a lot of energy to that game. So, tonight I just see Indiana playing at a faster pace, a lot of the same things that we saw from Morehead State, and we'll just see if they can knock down those shots at the line tonight.
One of the things that's going to be interesting, Kyler, is the exhibition games and then a Morehead State. Those teams obviously did not match up size-wise against Indiana, and I agree with you. This shouldn't be much of a problem, but the nice thing is Indiana's going to see Bethune-Cookman has, I think, 4 or 5 guys on their roster that are 6'9" or taller. So this is a little bit of a team with a bigger interior presence. I feel like this is a time, maybe the first time this season. I know they've only played 2 exhibitions in 1 game, but where maybe 3-point shooting, we might find a little bit more out about that as well, because maybe they don't quite get as dominant in the paint as they can because they're going to deal with some bigger bodies. Is that something you're looking for tonight, or do you think that they're still going to try to go inside against Bethune-Cookman?
I think at least to start, you'll see some inside-out play and everything. Indiana did a really good job finding Miller Kopp last game to get some open looks, and he was really, really good knocking down those open looks. So I think they start off the game as kind of the inside-out approach. That's how they've started every game, ever since Mike Woodson's took over. You kind of have to give the ball to the big fella. Trace Jackson-Davis, he has to get a touch every possession for the most part. But I expect them to go with that kind of route, that kind of game plan. But I also like to see them, scoring a bunch in transition this game. And finding Miller Kopp. Miller Kopp did a great job shooting the outside jumper in transition, which is one of the hardest 3-point shots you can take. I expect that. And, obviously you'll just see kind of how the backcourt kind of adjusts to that. I could see a big game from Xavier Johnson and Jalen Hood-Schifino as well. So I expect them to go inside out to start off. They might have to adjust when it comes down to halftime.
In the last game, Indiana, looking at some stats, if you took away the 3-point shooting, which wasn't really horrible, they were 4 of 11. If they had been 4 of 10, 40%, you'll take that almost every game. But if you take away the 3-point shooting, Indiana, they shot 66%, 666 for the game. That's just pretty damn high. You're going to win a lot of games like that. But the free throws, like you mentioned, that's just horrific. 57%, 12 of 21. That's atrocious. And Malik Renew, 50%. Man, he had 6 opportunities, only hit 3 of them. Jalen Hood-Schifino, he had 4 attempts, only hit 1 of them, 25%. That one was the surprising one. Hopefully that's something you don't see very often. The Jalen Hood-Schifino will get locked in. I think Malik Renew is someone that will get locked in. I don't think that he is going to be problematic. Trace Jackson-Davis, 3 of 5, gave a little scare, but he got things going. But that's where the misses came from. Ironically, it was Jalen and Malik who missed 6 free throws, just between those 2 guys right there. So that's the only bad thing that they've done this year.
Right. And, games like this, Morehead State, but then Cookman, that's not too worrisome. But, down the stretch, you saw last year, free throws were a killer for Indiana. They probably could have won 2 or 3 more games based off free throw shooting alone. That's just something, especially with Malik Renew, Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson, those guys that play primarily in the paint. Those guys are going to have to be a lot more consistent than what they showed on Monday. They've got to knock down these shots, especially Trace Jackson Davis, because he's going to get to the line at least maybe 5 times a game, somewhere around there, especially when you get into Big Ten play as well. But that's some worrisome for Mike Woodson right now, and I think right now the fans are a little bit concerned about that. But I mean, they've got time to kind of make it up and everything. If they have a really good showing from the line tonight, I think that'll calm a little bit of nerves, heading into Xavier next week, that's the real first test. So we'll just see how they kind of adjust to that tonight.
Well, and to that point, I feel like, obviously free throw shooting, because it doesn't matter who you're playing. You should always want to strive to, to shoot free throws well. So I understand that point. But I also feel like, we talk about, maybe Indiana missed some shots. Maybe they weren't quite as dominant. Morehead State is one of the better teams in their conference. They were 23-11 last year. Even though, yes, Indiana beat them the way they should, it wasn't like they played Chicago State, which is notoriously bad, and they are lucky to win 4 or 5 games every year. I think this was a quality opponent. Indiana did what they're supposed to. Are there things that they can improve on? Absolutely. But I think that you beat a pretty solid mid-level team by 35 points. I think free throw shooting, obviously, yeah, you want to clean that up. But everything else, I think for your first game of the season, to play a quicker team that plays probably a different style of basketball than what you do. I was impressed with that win.
Right. And, IU is going to have to get used to playing guys that play a different style if they want to have deep run the NCAA tournament. And Morehead State was exactly it, and you'll see probably a different style with Bethune-Cookman tonight. That's what Mike Woodson, added, the Kansases, the North Carolinas, those teams like that. They want to see different style of play other than, the beat you up inside the paint Big Ten, every year. That's what's killed it, like Indiana going in, or any Big Ten team going into the NCAA tournament. They're so used to the Big Ten style of play that they just can't adjust to, the Oregons, the Kentuckys, the things like that play a different style, a more athletic style, really. So yeah, Morehead State, no knock on them. They're a tough team. Should be one of the top teams in their conference this year. They had a lot of turnover from last year, but tough team. But then Cookman, from what I see, I don't think they'll provide that much of a challenge tonight, as Morehead State kind of did at the start of the game. But you never know. But, it's all about repetition at this point. You're playing the teams that are just going to help you, further down the line.
Bethune-Cookman is also a team that they just, like I said, they just got thrashed by Iowa. They're out playing a bunch of these teams. They're one of these teams that they're making money right now. Basically, they're going and playing at these schools and making money for their programs. These teams get tired too, because they basically, their preseason, their non-conference portion of teams like Bethune-Cookman and Morehead State, that's the big time of their season, because they're playing the Indianas and the Iowas and all these Big Ten teams or SEC teams. They're playing their biggest games of the year now. I'm not saying they're the most important for them, because once they get into their own conference, that'll be important. But these are the biggest games of the year. They're getting to go to whether it's Fog Allen or Simon Scott Assembly Hall or Rupp Arena or the Dean Dome. They're getting to go to these places and playing these games, but they do it a lot. And like you saw Morehead State the other night, they played hard. Well, that's got to get tiring when you do that 3 nights a week in these types of environments. So, but Indiana needs these types of games to start getting themselves acclimated. You've got Xavier comes right after this game. Then that's a road game. And then you've got a couple of more to stretch out. And then it gets serious, man. You got North Carolina and Arizona and Kansas. It's going to get for real for fast.
Yeah, and these are the games where you got to kind of make these adjustments. You got to work on the things that you're looking to improve on. Xavier comes in next week. Xavier is going to be a tough that's going to be a tough game for them. A road environment. You're going to really truly see, in my opinion, what this Indiana team is made of, right here, right now, at this early in the season. Xavier's going to provide a challenge. You've got Sean Miller there. You've got Jerome Hunter, former Indiana Hoosier as well. So it'll be a very interesting matchup, but I think you're going to learn a lot about this Indiana team, at least early this season, based on how they perform next week. Probably not tonight, but next week's more important than tonight.
Is it?
Creek Walker pointing out that Iowa put up 33 3-point shots on this team. Indiana put up 11 the other night against Morehead State. Just a something of note. It will depend on the matchup. Like I said, I asked that question to Mike Woodson, and he said we didn't need to shoot threes. They shot, like I said, 66% from the field. You don't need to shoot threes.
They don't. That's what I was going to ask Kyler. I mean, to me, I understand Mike Woodson's thought there because you don't need to, but at the same time, don't you want to try to get your guys into a rhythm, get some early confidence, because you're going to need to shoot threes against Xavier. You're going to need to shoot threes against North Carolina. Like, that has to be a weapon. They don't have to shoot 33 threes like Iowa did, but I'd like to see that number closer to probably 20. Wouldn't you, Kyler? Or am I out of left field there?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And like I said, I mean, if I was a coach, obviously I'm not Mike Woodson, so I really don't know what I'm talking about. But but I mean, for a game like this, I'd like to see that. I think this is kind of an extended practice game in a way. I think you get to play another team, another group of guys that aren't your own teammates, so you get to work on some things. And I would like to see them work on a little bit more. Try to set up Miller Kopp, try to set up a Jalen Hood-Schifino, a Tamar Bates, someone like that at the 3-point line. Let's just see, is working or not. Miller Kopp.
Miller Kopp has to have. He hit the 2 shots. He hit 3-point shots he hit the other night were in the second half. I don't think he attempted a shot in the first half.
Only one. It was a baseline jumper.
One?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he caught the ball in transition out on the wing. Perfect. Looks down, checks his feet, sets his feet, drills it. 2 plays later, same exact play. Checks, sets, checks, drills it. They need to set up more plays like that where you're getting Miller Kopp open, especially in the flow of I think he's a much better shooter in the flow than when it's set, but they have to get him more shots. I mean, he's looking – his shot is looking a lot more confident. In pregame warmups, I was watching him. He was getting the ball off quick. The team entirely looks like they really have worked on getting their shots off quicker. Their drills, a lot of the drills I watch them go through are about getting their shots, getting to their spot and getting their shots up quicker. And I've seen Miller Kopp do that and looking a lot smoother, but just not take him, which is on one hand, you're like, oh, it's great. He's not forcing things. I was surprised that there weren't more 3 attempts the other night because there was a couple that could have been taken that weren't forced, that still weren't taken. So I don't know if there was a predetermined plan by Woody saying, hey, this is what we need to do. But it will be interesting to see tonight what they do, especially against a team that faced 33 3-point attempts in their last game.
Right. And I think that the reason why you didn't see a whole lot of Miller Kopp is just because how dominant they were in the paint. Trace and Race and, Malik, they were having their way in the paint. And, Hood-Schifino was getting to the rim anytime he wanted to. So I think that's the reason why you didn't see a whole lot of that. But I agree with you. I think they do need to work on, we're getting him more open looks. Those transition threes were awesome. They were great. It was nice to see him shoot those with confidence. That's one of the toughest 3-point shots you can hit and everything. But I would like to see him more spot up. I'd like to see an open look for him. And that's something I'm going to kind of watch out for. Maybe I just don't know. Maybe that's just not Woodson's, priority is to look for Miller Kopp to get an open look. I don't know, because they want to go with that inside out approach. But, Indiana's going to have to try to figure out a way to get him more incorporated in the offense, in my opinion.
Dustin?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else there is. It's always hard to dissect some of these games early in the season because you know what you're going to see. I mean, Indiana's favored by 32 in this game. So, I mean, to me, I want to see more 3-point shots. I want to see, like you said, Kyler, can they clean up some of the free throw shot, the free throw shooting? And then what's the interior going to look like when they're challenged a little bit, I guess? Because, like I said, I don't know that Bethune-Cookman's big men are going to give them problems, but it is going to be a little bit of a different look than what they've seen through these first two exhibition and then Morehead State. I mean, this team does actually have size, and they have the ability to rotate some of those guys in. So this is going to be kind of that you mentioned, Kyler, earlier the season or earlier in the show that Indiana has to go through a grind a little bit at times in the Big Ten because of the physical style, the interior presence. I mean, I think that this is going to be a kind of like the Bud Light version of Big Ten basketball, and the fact that they at least can throw big guys and keep a big guy on the floor throughout the game.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. We'll just see, obviously free throw shooting is going to be the main thing that people are going to be watching out for tonight. And I just expect Indiana to come out at a faster pace. That starting unit, I feel like, needs to start a little bit stronger tonight, where they're not relying on the spark of the second unit to come in and kind of wake them up a little bit. That's the things that I'm looking forward to. But other than that, tonight it's going to be an easier night for Indiana. I expect I expect them to cover, honestly, just from looking at Bethune-Cookman. But we'll see a lot.
That's a spread, baby. 31.5 points.
I expect them to cover. If Iowa can put up that much points, I would expect
Iowa scores a lot of points. That's their mantra. They scored 89, and they did it. They put up 33 3-point shots. So it's kind of hard to score up near 90 if you're not shooting a lot of many threes. Which I'm not saying that they have to do that. I'm just pointing out some facts.
Yeah, don't expect Indiana to shoot 33 threes tonight. I would like to see, like Dustin said, I'd like to see in the 20 range tonight. That's just me.
Yeah. I'd like to see in the 20 range only if they're hitting 8 to 10 of those. I hate the other night was great because there was not a lot, nothing was forced. Everything was in flow.
You can't be bashful though, because you're going to have to shoot it at some point this season to be successful.
Right, but that was not the game. They didn't need to that game, and that was the whole point. And I love seeing the restraint. I love seeing the ability to not do it. It's easy to chuck up a 3-pointer. Anybody can do that. Morehead State did it.
Here's the problem,
it didn't work out for them. But I like seeing a team that has the self-discipline not to shoot a shot just because.
I don't disagree with you, but the problem becomes then what happens if they play Xavier and need to shoot threes? My fear is they might hesitate and try to force feed the inside, which has been a problem at times for this team. And then if Xavier figures that out and they can't shoot the three,
they're one game in. They've got plenty. That's what these games. That's exactly what these games are for. You take them differently. Well, each game was different. That game was a game where you use the inside game. Tonight might be a game where they shoot more threes, or the Xavier game may be that way. But that's what these games are for, to learn your identity, to learn how to attack different offenses that you're seeing, or defenses that you're seeing. If they're giving you the three, yeah, you got to take it. If they're packing it in, and you got to shoot from the outside. If they're hanging out on the perimeter, who's going to stop Malik, Trace Jackson Davis, and Race Thompson? Give me a break. When you sub Race Thompson out, they're bringing Malik Renew in. Who the hell's got a sub that's going to deal with that? Not many Big Ten teams. No Big Ten team is as deep in the front court that Indiana is. But that is as good as those three guys are. Nobody has three big guys that good.
And don't forget Jordan Geronimo as well, who had a great game on Monday. So,
exactly, and that's just another thing.
Yeah,
they've got three guys that could start on, I'd say, any Big Ten team. I don't think there's a Big Ten team that any of those three guys couldn't start on. So that will give Indiana a huge plus there.
Yeah, I agree with that. Indiana is one of the deepest teams in the Big Ten and in the country. So it's nice to knowing, if Trace Jackson Davis has an off night, whereas he's in foul trouble and everything, they got a guy like Malik Renew to come in and provide, production on the court.
Well, I appreciate it, man. We'll see you tonight at the game. Game time a little later, 8:30. And for the first time, you guys can watch it on BTN. It'll be there, so you don't have to worry about that. And on top of that, you got Robbie Hummel, I believe, on the broadcast. There. Kyler Staley, part of the Hoosier.com. They will have a complete running thread and complete coverage. Make sure you go to the Hoosier.com for complete coverage of that.
All right. I'll see you tonight.
Thank you, sir. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Barbara Pop Real Estate Services in Southern Indiana. If you're in the Louisville, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott County areas down there, you need Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. They've served that community for 3 decades. No one knows that area better than Barbara Pop and her crew. Reach out to her, Barbara at barbarapop.com, or my man, Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. We're back with the great Chris Denari right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore. Man, this is flying.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, guys. How are you?
I'm doing
Great,
well,
sir.
but I'm going to need the name of that little official from last night. I need a word after that technical foul.
Tyler Ford. He has I mean, I was talking to my director last night. He goes, he's played golf with him before. He lives here. He's a Ball State guy. I go, he may be a nice man, but he's a terrible official, and he shouldn't be a crew chief.
No. That was you cannot, and that's look, I'm usually pretty level-headed when it comes to the officiating, but last night, that technical foul in particular, because Jokic was pointing it out, in that level, at that stage in the game, you gotta be an official.
Right. No question. I'll tell you what, that was a hell of a game. I mean,
it was.
What a game. I mean,
I love watching this team win, lose, or draw.
What about that alley-oop that
that
McConnell threw to Jackson? My wife even
awesome.
said something. She goes, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody that high. Like
that was, and the thing I love, Chris,
then
is
she needs,
as soon as
she
he
needs
came
to hang
down,
out with Dustin more.
There you go. The thing I love too is immediately after that, smile running down the floor.
Yeah.
They just love playing basketball. They love playing with each other. It's so fun.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
The Pacers are fun to watch, even in a loss. And the reason that is important is because if they lose enough,
I don't think they're gonna lose enough.
I don't think they are either. And on top of that, again, it's not the NFL. People do not get this concept.
Right.
You have a better chance.
I fully believe that I have the luck that if the Pacers were 2-80, they still wouldn't get the first pick.
But what if? What if?
Yeah, but that's the thing is I think you just got to play. The players don't care about that. And
but here's the thing. Here's the other thing though. This team, if they are this good, all they need is one veteran piece. You can get somebody through free agency. They did that with David West a few years ago.
Yeah, the Colts thought that too.
Here we go, guys.
Get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Thursday here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, coming to you high atop the 18th fairway. The great Chris Denari from the Indiana Pacers joins us now, as he does each and every Thursday. And we're just talking in the break that, man, these Pacers are fun to watch, even when they lose. Dustin was pointing out that they look like they're just having fun. They're smiling. Man, you can't ask for anything more than that in a team, especially one that I don't want to use the word struggling, but they're just young. They're just young, and we were having the conversation about the tank versus no tank. And I'm hoping for, I can be a fan of the Pacers. If from a fan standpoint, they want them to lose, do it well, but lose because Wembanyama, baby. Dustin doesn't think that they will get him no matter what, but they've never had that they had Reggie. They had a great one, but to go through the draft and to build this thing with what they have right now, which is a great young nucleus, man, that is the last final piece to a team that could be formidable for a minute.
Yeah, the two guys that they have, I mean, the young guys, I mean, good morning, guys. And, last night, I mean, the atmosphere, there were 14,000 in the building, and it felt like there were 28,000 because it was, it was the emotion, the energy. When the Pacers got the 18-point lead, Matherin came off the bench and scored 23 in the first half. I think they have the piece. I think they have really good young players that, Benedict Matherin has played 11 games. Andrew Nembhard has played 10 games. Those two rookies have been on the floor in crunch time wins against Miami and New Orleans, and they nearly pulled off the hat trick last night. I think, Dustin, nobody would have thought, as you assess this team prior to the year, you look at that homestand, Miami, New Orleans with Zion, last night Denver, the two-time defending MVP, that you'd have a chance to go 3-0, and they probably should have. I mean, I know they're kicking themselves last night with that 18-point lead, but it shows you the beauty of the league. It shows you three-point shooting. Denver's the number one three-point shooting team in the NBA. They proved that last night. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope hit some big shots. Michael Porter Jr. It was a heck of a game. But I think to me, I'm not saying he's Reggie. Tyrese Halliburton, it plays with the energy of Reggie. And then Matherin is sort of this killer guy that comes in. I think they're taking all the steps. And I think, Jim, what they've said is, we're going to do this with young guys. This is how we're going to do it. I mean, that's the whole plan. And then you just sort of see what happens. And right now, from a record standpoint, they're 5-6. They had a chance to be 6-5. Some people across the league would say they're overachieving because nobody saw this. So I think for the guys and the coaches, you're just playing these and to see what you can do and then let the chips fall where they are at the end as far as, what your record is and what your draft is and all that kind of stuff. But you see what they're doing. When they go to late game situations, they've got Nembhard and Matherin on the floor. And those are two rookies that have only played 10 and 11 games.
You had to have a blast in that second quarter. I mean, the Pacers gain a 22-point bulge in that quarter alone, outscoring Denver 43-21.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't hold it over the final two quarters. Everyone was very, very consistent. Denver scored 33 points in the third and the fourth period. Indiana 25 and 24, both consistent there, but they consistently let them just get back into the game. But man, the ability to put on a 43-point quarter like that, that's big.
Yeah, and they did it. They got, one of the big keys, of course, Jokic was in foul trouble. I mean, he had 4 fouls in the first half. Michael Malone got a technical foul, Dustin. I'm going, well, why do you even have him out on the floor when he's got 3 fouls? But I thought one of the keys, and you're seeing this more in the NBA, is teams playing zone. Zone is a lot harder to play in the NBA because you have a defensive 3-second rule, just like you have an offensive 3-second rule. But I thought really in the third quarter, it really slowed the Pacers down. They didn't get out in transition like they wanted to, and then that zone really sort of befuddled them a little bit. So we've seen it this year already. Miami's played some zone. New Orleans has played some zone. More and more teams are doing that to sort of muck up the game, and I think that's what Denver did.
Yeah, and what stands out to me, Chris, is I think part of the reason, not just on a game-to-game basis, but the thing that makes this team also so fun is there are just so many guys that can beat you. I mean, Miles Turner had one of the best nights he had of his career against New Orleans just a few nights ago. And then they come out and Isaiah Jackson gets 10 quick points when he enters the game. Benedict Matherin hits his first 5 3-point shots. I mean, it looked to me like Denver was shell-shocked a little bit in that second quarter. Like they didn't know who they were going to defend. They didn't know what to expect. I mean, this is just a team where I felt like previously you almost just knew what you were going to get out of Sabonis. You knew what you were going to get out of Brogdon, and then you hope to God somebody else chips in. That's how it felt to me the past couple seasons. This year, it feels like if Miles Turner ain't having a good game, no big deal. Isaiah Jackson will come in. If Benedict Mathurin isn't having a good game, Jalen Smith will pick it up. Like there is just such good chemistry. And you don't have to necessarily depend on one guy. I mean, I guess you could probably put Tyrese Halliburton in there. He's probably the one guy that needs to play well or at least play more consistent on a game-to-game basis. But everybody else, I mean, this team can beat you with a number of different guys, and that's what makes this fun.
Yeah, one of the things that happened on Monday night was, I don't know if you guys saw it, but the first time in NBA history that all 5 starters scored at least 15 points and all 5 starters hit at least 3 threes. It had never happened. Now, we can go back 20, 25 years when the three-point shot was much different. You didn't have players taking 10 a game. Sometimes you had teams taking 10 per game. But you had Nembhard, Turner, Smith, Mathurin, Halliburton, all made 3 or more threes. They made 22 of them. So it tells you how the game's changed. But to your point, Dustin, it tells you that the Pacers have more than just 2 threats.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons they're keeping Mathurin off the bench, I think the fans are sort of clamoring for him to be in the starting lineup because they want to cheer him from the start. I mean, if people watched the game last night or you were at the game, when he goes to the scorer's bench, it feels like the old days of Lance Stevenson checking in.
Yeah.
I mean, fans are excited, but there's a method to the Pacers' madness. One, you love that boost off the bench. The Pacers have one of the top bench scoring teams in the league right now because of Benedict Mathurin. And I think he's able to create and do some things with that second unit. And then later in the game, as we've seen him on the floor in closeout situations, Miami, New Orleans last night. But he's the real deal. I mean, I know it's only 11 games, but I don't think – from a Pacer standpoint, we have never seen a rookie come onto the floor and do what he's doing. I mean, we've never seen that. I mean, Reggie was good. Other guys were good, but they didn't put up the numbers like Benedict Mathurin's putting up.
And he's doing it without veterans, true veterans around him to guide him, I think. I mean,
it's funny. I guess we're going to say that Miles is a veteran. I mean, he's 8 years, but he's only 26 years old. I think there are enough, veterans, younger guys. A guy like James Johnson serves a purpose because he's played 14 years in the league. TJ McConnell is a veteran. He's played 8 years in the league. But not this, not a LeBron James or not a veteran who's an all-star sort of helping, show him the way. He is finding his way on his own. But the other thing that's great, guys, is Rick Carlisle has mentioned this numerous times. Benedict Mathurin says, Coach, I need you to coach me hard. I need you to tell me constantly what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. I want to be the best that I can be. Now, I think a lot of players do that, but not to the standpoint that he does it like every day. That's just who he is. When you look at his upbringing and all the things that he's faced in his life, he'll say, hey, this is just basketball, but I want to be the best at basketball that I can possibly be. So very refreshing. He and Halliburton paired together for the next how many years is going to be a dynamic backcourt.
And I love too. I mean, eventually at some point in his career, he's obviously going to be a starter, and I'm sure he'll start some games this season, but I love what he brings off the bench. I love the rotation. It reminds me a little bit of back in the old Pacers days when they would start Mark Jackson and then Travis Best would finish the game. In a lot of respects, in an NBA game, you can get the same minutes. Doesn't matter who starts it. It's usually who finishes. And they've got such a good rotation that I don't want to see Rick Carlisle mess with it just to mess with it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think through the first 11 games, as you said, Chris, if this team is playing 500, a lot of people would think they're overachieving. And they've had chances to win darn near every game they've been in. So to me, that's why I understand why people want to see the best 5 take the floor first, but you don't have to operate that way in the NBA. And like I said, he's playing well off the bench. I want to see this rotation continue the way he's got it right now.
Yeah, he played. He's averaging. I mean, I have to look at the numbers. I mean, he's averaging like a point a minute. He played 24 minutes last night and had 30 points. I mean, that's just hard to do.
Right.
But to your point, they've had 3 home games now where they basically had a chance to tie at the end of the game. They lost, remember, opening night to Washington.
Yep.
They lost to San Antonio, and then last night. So those are 3 games that possibly could have flipped the other way. They also, Tyler Hero had a chance to beat him at the buzzer on Friday. So, but I think absolutely you have to like what you see. I see on the screen, somebody says Matherin is equal parts Ron Artest and George Gervin. And, from a toughness standpoint, clear with the Artest. Artest couldn't shoot it like Matherin and couldn't shoot it like George Gervin. The thing that I like, he has great size. I think he'll even get to be a better defender. That's the one thing that they really want him to be, as a really good two-way player, not just a scorer. And that will come as he learns more and more about the personnel in the NBA. The other thing that he has to do now is, and what Quinn Buckner said last night in the second half, he is a fixture in the scouting report, right? When the season started, teams knew that he was a good rookie. He was the 6th pick overall. But now 00 is at the top of the score at the scouting report. Yeah. And so especially in the second half, after he goes for 23, you don't think that Michael Malone wasn't in the locker room with his team saying, hey, this number 00, we've got to do a better job. So all of a sudden they shift and adjust their defense to how they have to deal with Matherin. That's something that he's going to have to deal with as well.
Now I'm going to go with a question off the court, Chris. So I always wonder if you and Quinn have fun when we are not, when it's not live on broadcast, because last night I laughed out loud because Denver brought the ball down the court. It was a 1-point game. And you said, Denver's got a shot to take the lead here. And Quinn said, I agree. And I'm like, what the hell do you mean you agree? It's a statement of fact.
Sometimes we have a lot of fun. I mean, that's part, he sort of coined the phrase a couple of years ago. It's infotainment, right? We are providing information and we are there to entertain. So we try to do our best. I mean, we do this 82 times. It's a lot different.
Right.
It's a lot different than watching a college game, right? From the standpoint that when you turn on tonight, BTN, you really don't know who the announcers are going to be. Every game is sort of a different deal, right? One night it could be Kevin Kugler, then it could be Brandon Gaudin, then it could be, in the past I showed up for a Big Ten game. But when you tune into the Pacers, we're there. We're sort of the conduit, and we're the people that sort of tie you from the screen to the team. So you got to have a little fun on a nightly basis.
It is fun. And to do it 82 times, I mean, there's obviously going to be some slip-ups. That one just last night was that made me laugh out loud because I agree. I'm like, yep, well, that it is a fact. So
yeah, partner, that they're ready to take. They could take the lead.
So it's going to be, no matter what, it's going to be a fun season for you. It seems like that even these Pacers are going to be in most games, win or lose. But more importantly, they're going to be fun to watch. And I love seeing a guy like Matherin come into the league and just make an impact immediately. Different than, say, Zion. He had all the attention and all of that. Matherin is just coming in kind of like a blue collar guy and just welding, and it's seamlessly joined this team and made them better, and they are better. They're fun to watch. They're a fun team to watch.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that Indianapolis is just going to embrace this team all year, no matter what.
Yeah, I think you're right. And they clearly have. I mean, you can just feel it in the building. You can feel it, when I'm out walking around. I mean, it's still, and I think the Pacers were very transparent. Hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to go young, and we're going to play our young guys and let the chips fall. And thus far, they're right around 500. They've had some impressive wins. As Dustin said, they've had 3 games that have come down to buzzer opportunities. So, it's going to be a fun watch the whole year. I'd encourage people to get to Gainbridge Fieldhouse. It's a lot of fun. You see the building. what they've done. There's all kinds of price points. I mean, as far as tickets are concerned, bring the family. We love people watching on Valley Sports. There's no question about that. But hopefully you'll get to the field house at some point this year and energize the team.
I plan to get there for at least one game. I'll bring Jim with me, but
Okay.
I gotta know, Chris,
He
how
says
can
that
I
all the
how can I
time.
rev in before the game? How can I get on the floor to do that? I mean, you can email me. Do I have to be important?
What did you ask?
That's,
What did you ask?
they
What
rev
did you
the,
wanna do?
you know, like the Colts do the anvil as they come out before the game. The Pacers have started doing they rev an Indy car, they rev the engine of an Indy car, and it's usually somebody famous, somebody who's done something actually important in the community, not just
Well, I
some
think that
slum
I
who
should
talks
do
on the
that,
radio.
and you should be a ball boy.
I'd take that too.
I said before, I forgot to ask Chris. We need to make him an honorary ball boy for a game. That's something that I think that he could possibly.
As long as he doesn't step on players' feet, right?
That's what I would be so fearful. I would just stand still. I'd let the ball hit me.
I'm talking about running out, doing the talent off the floor. You and the other 12-year-olds. I want to see Dustin with the 12-year-olds running around, grabbing the balls and all that.
I'd dominate that layup line. Let me tell you.
That's right. He'd have many assists out there passing to players.
I'll do the engine revving.
There you go.
Chris Denari, I can't thank
guys.
you enough, brother. You were a blast as always. Love you to death. Enjoy the broadcast coming up.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Keep them rolling. Yes, sir.
All right.
Have a great weekend.
Dustin.
Chris
See you,
Denari
Jim.
from the Indiana Pacers. As fun as always, man. That's just it's hard to have a segment with someone who covers a team that's not like they're not winning. It's hard for it to be fun. That's not an issue here.
Right.
No. And it's odd. It's just shows you that sometimes you can lose and it's not ugly.
Right.
But especially if you're looking at a bigger picture, if you're looking at the current circumstance being the Pacers are young. They don't have all the pieces yet. They're getting there, but they're getting there nicely. So fun. Hey, we got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Speed Radio. Looking forward to getting to it. We're going to hear from Mike Woodson and Tamar Bates as Indiana gets ready to take on Bethune-Cookman tonight. We're back with more, brought to you by Cabello, a part of the Endeavor Hospitality Group and Wow Club. Make sure you go to your Apple app, Google App Store, sign up for the Wow Club, earning Wow rewards today. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is...
All right, I'm headed out. I will see you guys tomorrow. And Five Left said I did a great job. Appreciate that, man. Truly appreciate that.
I tried to delete that, but it couldn't.
I don't blame you. I don't know what prompted it, but I really do appreciate it. So I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier. I did not mention that they're playing in the championship tomorrow against Rutgers. I don't think. I did mention that they beat Maryland. We'll catch that up. Look at that. He's back to watching NBA. The truth wants to hear some hoops. Mario revved the car the other night. Oh, nice. Holy moly, baby. Another long day. Gee whiz.
You said it was going, you said it was flying by earlier.
The show, I'm talking about this day. Indiana doesn't play till 8:30 tonight.
Oh,
that means fine. my day will end at around, oh my God, 8:30, 9:30 to 10:30. Man, I hate late. Post-game show. So that means the post-game show won't come on until
after 10:50.
Well, yeah, about 10:50. And that's something else. I would put that in the promo.
I've always put it in the description of the promo. I've never put it in the thumbnail.
I would put it in the thumbnail as well. Starts immediately after Mike Woodson presser. That gives people an exact time of when it'll start. Man, I finally took. My body is literally falling apart. My knee, I don't know of what I've done. Something feels like it's torn on the interior of my knee. It's been absolutely killing me. But
now,
I took pain.
get yours today.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. It's been a fun day. As usual, game day. Indiana takes on Bethune-Cookman tonight at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall at 8:30. If you're not going, of course, you can catch Don Fisher and the broadcast. Eric Sewer with him. We are planning to get the post-game show started tonight. We had a scheduling conflict the other day. These early games, I'm not that concerned about it, to be serious, to be honest with you. I don't expect for there to be a lot to talk about immediately afterwards. Nothing of surprise. But that quickly changes because the Indiana playing their second game tonight against Bethune-Cookman. Well, guess what? Next Friday, that changes. They travel to Xavier. Busy weekend next Friday for Indiana sports, by the way. Friday night, you've got the early game at least at 6 o'clock over at Xavier in Cincinnati. Then the IU media, for those of us like from the Hoosier.com, taking off, heading up north to East Lansing, Michigan, as the football team will be taking on Sparty at Michigan State. That's Saturday. And then back to Indianapolis on Sunday for a 5:30 afternoon game against Miami of Ohio on the hardwood for Indiana basketball. So 2 games in 3 days there, a road game and a neutral site game for Indiana as they continue to get prepared for number 1 North Carolina, as that game looms in 20 days. So we're roughly 3 weeks away from the serious business getting started for this basketball team. That is.
You could argue that the serious business begins next Friday, though, on the road.
Nah. I don't expect. While it's a road game, that will add a little intrigue to it. I don't think Xavier is that good. But when a team like Indiana comes in, you play your best. You give your all. So it should be challenging. You want it to be challenging. It needs to be challenging. Because they've got to get better. So, the truth. Appreciate you, Robert. Says he likes the questions I've been asking on the football team. Speaking of the truth, that's what I've been just trying to get. The truth, man. A lot about Josh Henderson. I don't understand, and I've said this when we've talked about this a lot. Straight up, why doesn't he get the ball? I've asked that question. Never really been given the answer. I don't want to put coaches on the spot. It's not it's not fun, but at the same time, this offense has just simply not performed, but they haven't made any adjustments. I know that they're kind of one-handed with a very, very poor offensive line that Walt Bell had nothing to do with. But regardless, you've got to make do with what you have. And I think I'd like to see Dexter Williams and Josh Henderson in the backfield at the same time and see what that does. Josh Henderson's can be a problem. Yeah, he may make mistakes. Guess what? Who cares? Everybody they put in there's made mistakes. Everybody. So who cares? Nobody's won. So who cares? What do you have to lose? A game? You've lost plenty. I want to see Dexter Williams because he has the ability to run, and Josh Henderson, who has shown good ability to run the ball. Put them in there at the same time. Create a little havoc. Make these defenses think a little more. That hasn't been the case. They've been able to just shut Indiana down because they have not been exciting or hard to plan for. So that's up to Walt to change that. I don't know why they haven't up till now, because we've seen the same thing. And I've asked that same question of why Josh Henderson was not getting the ball, 4 games ago, 5 games ago, was told the same thing. The other day it was because they were bad on third downs. I don't take it. That's not acceptable. Well, you've got first, second, and third down on every one of those series, but yet he only had 7 carries for the entire game, which happens to be his exact average for the entire year. 7 carries per game. It makes no sense. But we'll let them continue and see how that goes. But thank you, Robert. I appreciate you. Appreciate you for listening. Post game tonight, then late night edition. We're planning on it. We'll send out the promos and all of that. And so, yes, we're planning on it. Beginning of the year, it hits kind of hard when you've got everything going on with covering basketball, covering football. You've got soccer getting ready to hit the tournament. So it's a lot going on, guys, but we're trying to get to it. We'll get this complete switch made over to basketball soon. Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy will play against Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth December 10th in the match. Good to see Tiger Woods out. Pete says Tiger playing in 3 events in December. Haven't seen him since June, so hopefully it goes well. Yeah, like I said, good to see him out. Chris didn't realize that you'd started doing that again. So, yeah, well, we haven't started doing it again yet, Chris. We had planned on it. But it will be after Woody's presser. Yeah, we're always going to do them after the pressers. There's no point, because I think a lot of people are starting to watch those now. And also, Don Fisher has a post-game show immediately after game that runs like 15 minutes, and we don't want to cut into that. So there. Chris also asking, am I going to the Xavier game? Yes, I am. I will be at the Xavier game, and we will do the post-game show from there. Just like we'll be doing the post-game show from Las Vegas for the Arizona game and from the Fog Allen Fieldhouse for the Kansas game. Pretty excited about that. Looking forward to that. I should have done one. I guess I didn't do one when I was at Duke. Man, should have done that. Oh, yeah. Sean talking about the O-line. He says his issue is they all saw this coming midway through last season. They did nothing to correct it. Why keep the O-line coach a season too long? Made Tom Allen pay for a buyout. Major use of personal decisions. Yeah, it's the football team's program's in kind of a mess. I'm not going to lie to you. It's in a mess. Tom Allen is part of that's Tom Allen's fault. He's got to learn as he goes. The hiring of Nick Sheridan was just a horrific mistake. I will said it then, and I will never stop saying it. It was horrific, and it was because, yeah, you cannot hire and keep people because of friendships. And I know he'll say that Nick Sheridan was recommended, blah, blah. No, it was a comfortability. The same reason Darren Hiller stayed. That's both on Tom, and he'll have to take responsibility for that. But he'll get the opportunity to make some changes, and hopefully they do. We got more tomorrow to come up. Wrapping up the week at BB's, of course, BB's Marketplace. Looking forward to that. See what Chef JD has going for us. Always exciting to get out there. And, of course, we'll wrap up what happens tonight at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall as Indiana basketball back in action against Bethune-Cookman at 8:30. The post-game show will be roughly 20 minutes after the game's over when the pressers have completed. So look forward to that. Should have a special guest for you tonight. You should be excited about, but we'll get that all out then. Thanks a lot to Matt Taylor, of course, from the Colts, Kyler Staley from the Hoosier.com, and Chris Denari from the Pacers, as well as Dustin Schutte, my co-host from Outsider.com, John, the producer, for keeping us rolling. Most importantly, thanks to you guys, because you are the reason that we're here, as always. Looking forward to it, and can't wait to do it again. Until tonight, I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.